But okay, so when we look at the houses, put them all in. When you look at the keywords, 3 points in values, 5 points in security. So all that Virgo is in the first house, is in the fourth house of security. So the need for security or feeling secure is a really strong, important factor here. And the need to be secure with one's values, that's the next. Okay, so the keywords are just basically the rulerships expressed for each house, for the basic energies for each house. When you look at the rising or setting half of the charts, 5 points rising, 7 points setting. So even though there's a strong I me person, there is a stronger capacity to respond to others than to project. There's still, this is the smallest distinction. They're either 6-6 or they could be 5-7. So there's just a slight more ability to respond than to instigate. But they're both there fairly well, so it might not stand out that distinctly. When you look at above or below the horizon, you see the seesaw. 2 points above, 10 points below. So this is a distinct big difference. The 2 points out in the functional world, Saturn and Jupiter up above, but the 10 points below the horizon, I got to live my way. This is my feelings, my personal world. That's going to have the attitude of this is mine. This is mine. This is how I do it. And there's a need to be subjective. My inner personal world, subjective world, is more important than my outer world. Many artists have this. Many, it's just you would deal with things outside just enough to take care of what you need for being inside, and what you need inside is stronger. So the focus being stronger subjectively in one's personal world, more than out there. We get to angular, succeeding, cadent. Here we have 5 angular, 5 succeeding, 2 cadent. Now this is dynamically different from the, sorry, just double checking everything. This is dynamically different from the signs. In the signs, we had 2 cardinal, and then I think it was 2, 4 and 6, where we want to just go back. With the signs, we had 2, 5, and 7. 2 cardinal, 5. So the mutable was the strongest, then fixed, then cardinal. In the houses, the angular is strong and the fixed. So both of them are determined, both the signs, the attitude, and the relationship to worldly events is very determined and consistent. But with the energy going into the world, into the houses, or material concerns, there's a drive. I got to be this. I got to do this. There is a kind of assertiveness to that 5 angular houses. There is a pushy side, and not so adaptable. So when it comes to the things around her, it's not so adaptable. It's pushy and fixed. I'm doing this. I got to do this. I got to have this. I'm determined to make things happen. But by attitude, it's not the same. By attitude, it's determined, and I'll adapt and see what's going on. This kind of feeds into the seesaw again. So on one level, the adaptability in attitudes are the most, but in circumstances, it's not so easy to adapt. This is like double thinking. Sometimes the houses really, the pile up in the houses is almost the same as the pile up in the signs. And sometimes when they're different, you start to see these 2 different levels emerging. In the house, in the intuition, thinking, sensation, feeling quadrant, even though she only has 1 point in the water sign. No, she has 1 and the midheaven, 3 points in the water signs. It's not her sun, moon, or ascendant, but she has 6 points in the feeling quadrant, taking things in, responding to others. So her feelings can be affected by other people. Right? Feelings are how you take things in from others. So a little bit of encouragement, she's going to be pumped. A little bit of put down, she's going to be very upset. She's going to take things in and respond to people personally more than she's going to project or do other things. But the intuition is 4. So it's most the strongest is the getting the feedback. Depending on what feedback I get, you're going to see how much I intuitively project. But it's interesting because her past and her moon are in the taking the feedback, the feeling, and the sun and the ascendant are in intuitively projecting my goals and my purpose into the future. So the moon phases say, go for the sun, go for the future. But the moon is really strongly active here, and then the sun, and it's on one side of the seesaw. It's like a seesaw within a seesaw, but really this balance is there. And still the overriding seesaw pattern is there. So this is, then I don't expect you to, if you see something you can't make sense of, well, okay, I'm not sure what that is, but I notice it. This predominance is there. And then you wait to observe it. So when you're looking at the elements of the houses, the fire, the world of self, air, the worlds of relationship, earth, concerns and rewards, water, 5 points rewards. So they mean that there's only 3 points water signs, but in the houses, there's 5 points water, and water is impressionable, judgmental. It takes things in. So even though she can be very fussy, she's super sensitive about what happens around her and how people affect her. And the others, 3 practical concern, but the 2 and 3, they won't stand out so much. But this water does stand out because it brings an element to the surface that would not have. So the angular and the water is coming up to the surface more than was showing in the signs. Okay, so we've tuned in, we've seen these patterns. It's defining the overview of the person. I mean, if you just work with these first 15 points, you could do a fairly reasonable reading for someone without ever talking about the planets and the signs of the houses, just by looking at the totals. You would have valid information to talk to someone about. And it would be this proportion, this perspective is who that person is. It's the overview of it, but it's still valid affirmation. Okay, now, let's just put this. I don't think we're going to come back. No, I don't think we'll come back to that. So, now, okay, so those are our first 15 steps. And these are the things that you need to work on and give a description of to be able to complete this level of interpretation. The next level, steps 10 to 24 to 25, are the planets in the signs and the houses and the aspects. So they're just a combination of the 3 things we've already done. And basically the planet is the energy. The planet is what's happening. It's the function. It's colored by the attitude of the sign. It expresses itself into the affairs of the houses. And it does so easily or difficulty depending on how many stressful aspects there are to it. That's a simple sum up of this level, and that's where we're trying to get to. But integrating this it takes a bit of time. You're getting into depth, and usually you're in when you're talking to someone, you're in a dialogue about this, and you go over this, and you know, like I've only done this with a few people where someone would come and do a session with me, do like 10 sessions, and we do 1 session on each planet, and we do their chart around it. Then you would work through each of these categories deeply, and it really becomes incredibly valid in terms of self-discovery that you've already discovered. Okay, you've done it for you, see how much it is for you. And it's interesting with astrology, the chart is saying it's supposed to be like this. Someone can try and be the opposite or different from what's it's saying in their chart, but they're not going to be happy, or it's going to be much more stress in their life if they're fighting their own nature. Okay, so you're not so much defining persons, you're showing how different areas or different dimensions of consciousness, how they function. And you're elaborating and expanding on their presence and becoming more aware and more sensitive and more open to each dimension of consciousness. So I want to work through, we're not going to be able to work through all the planets, but I want to work through a couple. So we'll do the moon first. And then we might do the sun and try and see how these 2 work with the moon. Your past, you look at it, past habits, sympathy, links, nurturing, health, mother, memory. So everything before this moment is your memory. It's not even real anymore. It's just the memories you drag along with you of all the things you've done and places you've been and people you've, everything in the past, just memory. That was my best friend. It's just a memory. It's just a thought. No, it's not. In the moment, it's extensions, but very powerful extensions. Much of our life is made up of our feelings of security and our memories and how we reflect on things. So when we look at the moon, here we see the moon's in Virgo. It's in the 4th house. So you have the analytical moon in the 4th house of personal motivation and personal security. And it's conjunct, there's no difficult aspects to it except the conjunction to Mars, which makes it a little bossy or pushy. So you get the sense that there's going to be a pushiness. I'm going to push to have my home the way it is so I feel secure. That is exactly the way I want it to be. Okay, so you can make a quick association. That's how astrology is normally done. But if you want to work it and get the in-depth thinking to understand the moon better, you'll see, okay, the moon, nighttime is increasing. I'm only going to feel secure if in my lifestyle, it has some relevance to other people because the nighttime's increasing. I need to feel I'm belonging, or there's someone there, or I'm moving towards someone to feel secure. Okay, second category, daylight is greater and nighttime is greater. So here the daylight is greater. This is the seesaw. I'm living my way. I know exactly how it should be. I'm doing it this way. I have exactly this way to do things. And so you have the need to be independent. I need to be moving towards something, feeling secure. I'm going that someone's there. I'm moving towards something, doing things for people. But I need to have a feeling that people are responding to anything that I do. I take it deeply. If they didn't ignore or conflict with what I'm doing, I'm going to take a personal reaction. So then you see, fall, spring, summer, fall, winter. It's just putting those two together. That's what we just did. And then, so with the exam, you've already done the sheets. You just have to put them in order. Moon in the sign, moon in the houses, moon aspects. And then you read them through and you can make some extra comments if you want, or you just, that's enough just by itself. So basically you're making comments of how these things integrate between the signs and the houses and the aspects. So then you have it's feminine, that moon is in the feminine sign. I'm going to reflect on my feelings, on what's perfect and how this is comfortable enough. So with this moon of Virgo in the 4th house being reactive but very strong, what would happen if you dropped crumbs in the bed? Whoa. Or on the Chesterfield, or you made a mess and you walk in, you drop your jacket on the floor and you say, hi, hon, I'm home. That's not going to make the impression. She'll either pick it up or you're going to get something, you're going to hear something, but she'll react strongly about that. So she'll have her ways. Just this Virgo now, but it's reflective, so she's measuring it. She's not projecting her sense of security. So you could do something and upset her and not even know you did it. You'd find out soon enough. But then you see, then you're putting it into the cardinal fixed mutable. It's mutable. So there's multi-levels or the ability to adapt or take several different approaches. I feel secure over this or this or this. If I'm not going to get that, it can be this. If I don't have this, then I'm going to move somewhere and I'll react and I'll do something else. I'll get busy with something else.